So what I was saying, guys, is that what do you do when towards the, like, when you have this entire framework in front of you, right? Now you have the clarity on how will you approach a problem. Now, some tips that I want to give you real quick is that whenever you want to go into data science or data science consulting, some of the common problems that are going to come in front of you are these five. I think more than 50% of the projects are going to be one of these problems: acquiring more customers, reducing cost, faster supply chain and distribution, increasing employee retention, or meeting demand and supply. Why I'm sharing these with you is you should in general keep reading about some of these aspects, or if one of these in particular fascinate you, and keep going through this and developing yourself into it, right? Because that intuition part, if you see, that is not something that data can help you with right away. That you can only gain either by a lot of experience and making a lot of mistakes, or you can gain the same by reading a lot and trying to speak to people who are into these professions and understand the processes better. So keep in mind, these are the five most common business problems that you encounter typically. The common frameworks in consulting. This is very important, guys. We have discussed MECE and CRISP DM because that's what Zorba follows, and those are the most important ones. But apart from that, I want you guys to read up about 3C framework in consulting, McKinsey 7S framework in consulting. I think SWOT is something that you guys would have heard about somewhere, and BCG matrix. I want you guys to know these four frameworks apart from what I have just told you guys, so that you have that maturity to look at businesses problems and the world with a very different framework. These frameworks, if you really read about and if you take this session seriously, it's going to completely change the way you look at the world. You will find yourself to be a lot less clueless compared to how you were before about various things going on in the world and why a business does what it does. At least that's what I hope. And rest I'll hear from you when we actually go into video conferencing more than a minute or two. But these are the four frameworks that I would want you guys to look into on your own. Another thing to analyze a business, right? So this art of problem solving is also you having the capability to able to understand a business very quick or scale up your understanding about a particular business domain really fast. How will you do that? To do that, you have to consider various types of businesses, right? So to analyze a business, you need to know whether it's a B2B or B2C business, whether it's a product business or service business, which particular function is very important for that business. If it is a logistics business, you know that the most important component of the whole thing is supply chain and logistics itself, right? If it is a marketing business, you have to know what the core process for a particular business is. I don't think like if you talk to Google, right, and if you're trying to pitch something to Google, maybe you need to understand that you are going to be most valuable to Google if you have a capability to recommend something on their search business or how they can improve the sales performance of their search ads, right? Compared to that, if you try and go and understand Google and talk only about employee retention, then you know that employees is not the biggest problem at Google. The core process basically at Google is probably not that, right? So you have to understand what is the core process for each of the businesses. And then I think we've discussed everything else. Just towards the end, I have to give you some more tips on how to structure an analysis from a business problem solving point of view, right? So to design an analysis, basically, these are some of the common tips that I use, and I think it is just helpful to keep these things in mind. So written work plan by priority, essential analysis is what you need to do. The hypothesis component is what I just told you. This is also very critical. Many newbies in data science fall into this trap. I've seen people with 5-6 years of experience also fall into this trap. That they're doing some, I don't know what kind of analysis they're trying to do. They're trying to create some of one of the best algorithms in the world, when actually the requirement is that just give us something which is like 70-80% accurate to call people up. And they're trying to unnecessarily use algorithms and get things complicated to come to like a 95% accuracy for no reason. And the last point is very critical. Each analysis you have to start by keeping the end in mind. That what is going to be the use, how the operational execution is going to happen with this analysis. All right. And this is the last part. How do you design the analysis? It's very self-explanatory. It has like which issue or hypothesis are you working on, what analysis is required for which, what data sources are required for which, what is going to be the end product of that analysis. Is it going to be a chart? Is it going to be a list? Is it going to be a table, spreadsheet? Right? Whose responsibility is it if it is a multi-team thing? And what is the due date for each piece? So this is the way you should be planning, initially at least, right? Eventually you will come up with your own methods. But initially this is critical. And then of course, gathering the data and interpreting the results. I think that's very common stuff that you can look into.